Shane McMahon just came back and apparently he was already let go by his own father. According to the latest reports, he has been sent home by WWE just 3 days after returning. This is wild, and this is WrestleRound, bringing you all of today's top 5 wrestling news and rumors. So have those notifications turned on to always be up to date, and let's get into it. And let's start off with some unexpected news, I guess. If you were not a fan of this year's Royal Rumble, especially the men's matchup, not just because of how it ended, but because there was barely any surprises, then don't worry, because it looks like WWE themselves knows that it was not on par and it was a bit of a letdown. The men's Royal Rumble matchup obviously had a lot of promise, and there were so many quote-unquote surprises, so many legends that could have been a part of it to make it a bit more memorable, but none of that ended up happening. We did have some decent surprise in the form of Bad Bunny, Shane McMahon, and Drew McIntyre, and Brock Lesnar, who obviously went on to win the match. But besides that, there was no shocker, something that we were not expecting. Like in previous years, like Edge making a return, Carlito showing up, Christian making a return as well, and so on. That type of feel wasn't there. Even Booker T criticized the match for the lack of organic surprises. Well, according to Brian Alvarez on the Wrestling Observer Live, he confirmed that yes, WWE is well aware of the fact that the Royal Rumble match for the men's this year was not up to the mark. As he quoted, they are well aware that the men's Rumble was boring, and their plan is to make sure next year is not boring. Which means a CM Punk return, Royal Rumble 2023, here we come. No, but in all seriousness, I do hope that next year, the matchup itself is a bit more exciting, because the Royal Rumble is always nice. It's always a good match to watch, because it builds up the anticipation on its own. But it's more memorable once WWE does include those shockers in there, and nice surprises. Here's a bit of a shocker over the last 24 hours. Brian Kendrick is no longer with WWE. Looks like they granted his release, and on top of that, he's actually already showing up on AEW Dynamite this week, tonight. Gonna be debuting, gonna be taking on Jon Moxley, which I'm already crazy excited for. I've been waiting for Brian Kendrick to have another match in WWE. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, and now he's already debuting against Jon Moxley. On to some other quick news. The Wrestling Observer Live indicated that Randy Orton is going to be taking some time off, so he will not be on television for the following weeks. They indicated that he's just gonna be off TV for a little while, and as of right now, there is no date on when he will return. Randy was at the Royal Rumble, but we know that he ended up missing this past week, Monday Night Raw. No reason was given for it, but Matt Riddle did qualify for the Elimination Chamber. Maybe Randy is not gonna be going to Saudi Arabia this time around, and we will get to see him right after that, just in time for WrestleMania. Asuka was going to be one of the surprises for this year's Women's Royal Rumble, and we finally got an update from Fightful indicating that the reason why she didn't return was because WWE didn't feel like she was physically ready to return. A couple of weeks ago, there were reports indicating that Asuka is basically ready to go, so a lot of the speculation began that maybe she was gonna make a return at the Rumble and WWE was saving it for a surprise. But it looks like maybe she just needed that extra time to recover. She is still expected to be back by the time WrestleMania comes around. And last but not least, we are talking about a bit of a breaking news right now, as apparently Shane McMahon has been sent home by WWE. He has been let go. To catch you guys up to speed, coming out of this year's WWE Royal Rumble event, a lot of talents were unhappy, especially with Shane McMahon, as he was one of the producers for the men's Royal Rumble match, and he quote-unquote wanted to book the match around himself to make himself look good. Shane got a lot of backstage heat for this. A lot of plans were changed throughout the day. Ultimately, he is one of the person to blame for the way that the Royal Rumble matchup came to be. And before all of that Royal Rumble weekend madness, WWE plans for Shane McMahon was for him to have a match at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view and also at WrestleMania. He was actually scheduled to be in the Elimination Chamber WWE title match. But now, new reports from Ringside News indicate that a member of the creative team said the writers were told in a semi-quiet way that there will be no creative discussions about Shane McMahon. They have now moved on to other creative discussions. A source stated that Vince had no choice. Shane created chaos, had everyone in an uproar, pissed off everyone in the Rumble, openly buried other producers, and was changing things that Vince wanted. Vince had no other choice but to send him home. The term blackballed has not been used, but Vince McMahon is quote-unquote quietly using the term let go to describe the situation. 2022 is already way too wild. Vince McMahon just released his son. I mean, that is basically what's happening right now. He sent him on a vacation. As we are headed into WrestleMania, Shane was brought back to have a huge match at WrestleMania, and basically 3 days later he's already gone. This is certainly wild, and I'll keep you guys up to date on it because more news will come out for it. Anyways, make sure you guys turn on those notifications to always be up to date on all of that wrestling news coverage just like today. Stay savage, and I'll catch you on the next one.